We're now ready to start styling our submenus, but as you can see, they don't exactly look the way that we want them to right out of the box. The reason for that is that they're taking on the styling that's actually meant for our top-level menus. It's just inheriting down. So not only do we have to create new styles for our submenus, we also have to make sure that they overwrite our previous menu styles as well. It's really kind of hard to tell what's going on by looking at all these drop-down menus because they're all sort of colliding over each other and dropping down. So I always find it easier to style one just as a sample and then apply it to everybody. So I've opened up the dropdown.htm from the 05_03 directory. I'm just going to scroll down in my code until I find my submenus. And I'm going to take the bottom two submenus and I'm going to apply an HTML comment to those. HTML comment is just a angle bracket, exclamation point, dash, dash, and then you follow that with a dash, dash, and then another right angle. All right, so I'm going to do that for the bottom submenu, which is in contact, and then I'm going to do that for the submenu in blog as well. I'm just going to go ahead and apply an HTML comment around both of those. Now, if I save this and go back into my browser and refresh, I'm just going to focus on this one drop-down menu and styling it. I don't have to worry about the other ones. They're out of the way. I know they're going to get the exact same styling. So it's more of me just sort of filtering out what I'm looking at so that I'm not confused by which submenu somebody belongs to. The first thing I want to do is scroll up to my styles, and I've got this little section right here that says drop-down menu styles. So let's take a look at what we're going to need to do. The first thing I want to do is focus on the actual submenus themselves. And to do that, I'm just going to write the selector ul.submenu. So I am taking advantage of those classes. I want to keep it from being a horizontal menu. Right now, all of our submenus are styling themselves exactly the same way our top-level menu is, which is to say horizontal menu. So the easiest way for me to do that is just to turn the float off. So I'm just going to type in float none. Now below that, I need to deal with some of the list items. They're also being floated as well to create the horizontal menu. So I'm just going to type in ul.submenu space li. So you'll notice that I'm trying to be very specific as I write these selectors. I'm adding the class and I'm making sure that they're specific enough to where they're going to overwrite the top level menu styles. I'm just going to say float none there as well. I'm going to save that, go back out to the browser, refresh. Indeed, I can see that now they're no longer floating. They're now structuring themselves as a vertical menu, which is exactly what I want. Now, of course, the visual styling doesn't look quite right yet, so let's jump back into our code and start working on that a little bit. I'm going to go back up to the UL submenu selector. The first thing I'm going to do here is apply a background to that menu. That way it's going to be a nice solid background on our drop-down menus, and that one's going to be pound 916A31. So that sort of darker brown color. That'll give us a nice contrast with the brighter orange color of the top menu. And if you remember, when we were indicating the current page or the current rollover, it's got that sort of brown tab to it, so it'll actually look like it's part of that brown tab. So that's exactly why we did that. And then I'm going to set the width to auto and the height to auto. In the case of our horizontal menus, there's explicit widths and heights being set. So by setting them to auto, we're basically turning those guys off. All right, so if I save this, go back out to the browser and refresh, I can see that now we're really getting somewhere. We've got that brown color. Notice that when we tab over, it's going to look like it's just a part of that tab, which is nice. And our links are more or less spaced the way we want them to, but we could probably give a little bit of attention to those individual links. So I'm going to go back into my code, and just below the existing selector for the list items, I'm going to create a new selector. I'm going to say ul.submenu. Remember, that's all one string. There's no white space there. Space li space a. So now I'm targeting the links inside the submenu. And for that one, I'm just going to do a bottom border on that. So border bottom, and I'm going to do 1 pixel solid white. That's going to give me a separator, a little bit of visual separation between each of my links. For padding, I'm going to increase the padding on these. I'm going to give them 0.2 ems for the top and the bottom, and then 1 em for right and left. And then I'm going to do something that we haven't done yet. I'm going to control white space. I'm going to say white space, no wrap. Now, the reason for that is if we are dealing with sort of a longer submenu, the text isn't going to wrap and break down. It's going to force it to go as wide as it needs to go. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, go back into my browser, refresh, and you can see we've got improved spacing now, and we have those dividers going between each of the links. And of course, the bottom link does have that white border on it. So I want to get rid of that. So I need to create one last selector here. So I'm going to type in ul.submenu space li, and then remember :last dash child. And remember the li : last child has no white space between it, space A. So again, we're targeting any link that's inside of a list item that's the last child of one of the submenus. So that's a very specific selector. And there, I'm just going to turn that bottom border off. So I'm just going to say border bottom none. Save that, test it, and the border goes away. Perfect. So our submenus are now looking pretty much the way that we want them to. We've overridden all of our top-level styles, and it's displaying as a vertical menu rather than a horizontal menu, which is exactly what we want. However, as you can see, those top-level rollover styles are still applying to our submenu, which is causing some real issues there. So we'll tackle that next as we write rollover styles for our drop-downs.